you all again for coming, because it was very heartening to see so many registrants and such a big crowd. And now I want to take a moment. David Brown, who, as I mentioned, helped to start the Center for Free Enterprise, he always called me a Dealmeister, but he thought that was my middle name. But I never really answered to that. But when we decided to have this, I decided we should award a Dealmeister of the Year award. And this would be an award to honor long and meritorious service and excellence, professional excellence, in the field of mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling companies. And John he's one of our speakers, so he's already given you a few secrets today. But he was nominated and richly deserves this award. So I want to congratulate him and give him a round of applause. And then I want him to share some insight about what he's learned doing what he's been doing. So let's give John a round of applause.
Yeah, I got LinkedIn here, so give me a second. So thank you all. I've been been in the business world now almost 50 years, which is really hard to believe how that happened. But I do want to share with you some of my thoughts with respect to how to do business and things that I've learned in, again, nearly 50 years of doing this. I guess, and some of this is pretty simple stuff, but I believe in it. So, number one, always do the right thing. Always be the straight shooter. Always be considerate of others. This pays a lot of dividends. I've gotten business because of that. I've had business because people said, "Hey, so-and-so told me you're a straight shooter, and that's who I need for this situation." So that's been helpful. It also makes a big difference. I had a client who had its worst loss, and it was a family business, had its worst loss in its history. And they had about 5 body blows hitting them at the same time that year. That's why they had the loss. One of the issues, they were a commercial landscaper, and one of the issues, they were diligent in terms of getting documentation from their workers. But there was a paper mill down in Canton that was doing false papers. And so a lot of their people had these false papers. So just right as their busy season was starting, they got raided. And they lost 1/3 of their workforce right as their busy season was starting. So they were scrambling. And they had always treated the community nicely. They'd always been a good corporate citizen. And people in the community, because they lost so many of their people in the community actually came out and volunteered to help them move their product. One of their customers was Lowe's, and Lowe's knew that they were having a hard time and were working late to the night, and they sent them a ton of pizzas, so that their people could eat, and just in thanking them for what they did. Another situation, a client, and the owner was truly a rat bastard. I mean, the guy, he beat the crap out of his vendors constantly. He had what he called a vendor conference, and it was a vendor whipping. I mean, they went in and they'd bring the vendors in the room and they'd try to cut their costs, what they would buy for, and people really didn't like this guy. So at one point in time, his business started running into trouble. No one would help him. No one. Everyone disliked him. No one would help him. So again, I mean, this is really a critical component of, and then the other aspect of this is if you're doing a deal and there's always some uncertainties in the deal and there's a question of whether someone trusts you or doesn't trust you, and having them trust you helps you get the deal done. So, I mean, one of the things that you want to ask yourself, and I'm pretty close to it, when I'm sitting on the porch with a bunch of old people, my question is, do I want myself to think about all the people I met and the fun I had and the good people I worked with, or do I want to sit there and talk about, boy, this is great, I screwed all these people? And obviously it's the former. But that leads me into my next common, and that is, as best you can, avoid working with bad folks. There's a lot of bad folks out there. They're not trustworthy. One of the things that I do when looking at a new client relationship is I'll look and see where this person sued everybody. I mean, you could find out. You go and see what kind of court docket is, and if they sued everybody, stay away. Now, I've certainly have had situations where I've worked with someone who was, I thought was a rat bastard. I think, Jim, you may remember one of them. But in that particular situation, he didn't have the keys to my engagement. The bankruptcy court did. So that was the only situation that I would work with him, is because I knew I was going to be in good shape. I had another recent situation where the board, the management hated us, but the board put us in. And so I knew that we were going to be able to prevail, get stuff done, get a transaction done as a result, and had a very good result. And the last thing, life's too short, so have fun. I've been in situations where, I've gone into a company where the owner had just committed suicide. I've gone in situations where we've had to tell the owner that we're going to close the business. Matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, I was telling an owner, I said, this isn't working. This is a receivership. We need to close your business. And I said, I'm sorry to tell you that. And he said, it was very heartwarming. He said to me, John, I couldn't have had a better receiver. I appreciate what you've done. He actually accused me of being a stand-up comedian at one point in time during a receivership, and this is when the company was going down. So enjoy life, enjoy the people with you, who you're working with, have a good time. Things don't have to be a win-lose situation. Always try to look for the win-win. And if you do that on a consistent basis and you build a reputation in doing so, I think you're, at the end of the day, when you're sitting on that porch with all the old folks, you're going to be smiling. So thank you.